I open up my phone, open Stripe, it's loading, and I see today $153,000. It's fucking nuts, man. And mind you, I was the only person on the team. There's no.
How old were you at that point?
I was 17.
I had my first 10K day on a Sunday, and then I had Monday
Yeah.
school. And walking in, like, I felt different. I looked at people different.
Mind you, I have zero idea how to run a SaaS company. I just thought if we had a pretty looking landing page, that would be really great for our customers. Welcome everyone. This is the second episode of the Prove Them Wrong podcast with special guest Zach Alabi, founder and CEO of Zogro Media, and we got the freaking young and badass over here, Andreas Cortez. Cortese? You're not. Nope, that's not happening, dude. Yeah, so he's a freaking legendary teenager that's fucking astounding, to be honest, of what he's doing, especially in the sales game. And today we're just gonna catch up again. And yeah, just there's no followed sequence or anything. There's no outline for this. We're trying to kind of just going off the dome, and hopefully we say something interesting that you guys learn something from. So, welcome in, guys.
Welcome in.
Appreciate it.
Welcome to my office.
Yeah, bro.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, you're welcome to my office.
Cool. Well, actually, this time I wanted to focus on Andy because I think last time we talked a lot about like my side of things.
I think we talked a lot about sales last time.
Yeah.
A lot of sales
so
stuff.
I'm curious for you. How did you like? First of all, start off like what exactly do you do?
I run a SaaS company, for short or for long. That's software as a service. We service real estate professionals and we help them generate more leads with automation. And essentially, we give proper systems in place for real estate wholesalers to generate more leads, then closing more deals.
Yeah. How do you get into the industry?
Well, I started. Zach has probably heard this story a couple of times already. But I started my real estate journey when I was 15, probably like when I was a sophomore in high school. So around where you are right now, you're just graduating, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So sophomore in high school, I see this guy on TikTok. It's like this Vietnamese dude, and he's just saying like you can get in real estate wholesale, make a bunch of money, without any money, without a license, and you can do it completely virtually. And as a student in high school, I was like, holy shit, that matched like the three things I was looking for. I tried drop shipping and I did pressure washing kind of. And my first entrepreneurship business was like lawn care. So I just went around door knocking and then just trying to sell them. And I was
That's
like,
like balls though, the door
yeah,
knocking.
I was a short Asian kid. I was this short Asian kid coming up to people, and I didn't even know how to turn on a lawnmower. It's like it was just my friend like fulfilling everything, and I was just kind of like the little helper. But going back to it, I tried real estate wholesaling for like a month or two, failed. Obviously, like it's just, I mean, I wasn't someone like you. You're a freaking total badass.
Yeah.
Totally not the normal entrepreneurship, like the Rocky cutscene. You just go in and start fucking crushing it, which is totally not normal at all. But I didn't crush it like you. It's like, well, fuck. And then I see this genie guy on YouTube, and I don't know if you know Jamil Damji. He's like, come join me astro flipping, and we teach you how to wholesale from A to Z, the quickest way to wholesale. And he's like, I was buying into the dream, essentially. Got on a call with one of their sales guys. Mind you, I was still like 15, 16. His name's Kilo. Kilo, if you're watching this, I freaking love you. I don't think he's working there anymore, but Kilo changed my life. Zach, you know him. I've talked about him.
Kilo.
And he told me, astro flipping is the way, and I totally believed it. It was like 7-8 grand.
Yeah.
And I did not have 7-8 grand. I had
Dude,
about
I just want to pause. That's what I love about sales.
yeah.
It's like somebody like that can make such a big impact. And
Right.
I don't know the story, but just from like having a call with you
Right.
changes your entire trajectory of your
It's
life.
crazy. It's crazy.
That's what I love about it. That's like my passion for it.
Yeah.
I interrupt you. Continue.
Totally changed my life. I mean, also didn't feel like selling. He wasn't selling anything. He was helping me. change. That's a thing we can talk about sales later. But obviously I couldn't afford 7-8 grand. But he offered me a 6-month payment plan. It was like a monthly rent every month, so it was like around 1,600 every single month. And I calculated all out. I was like, okay, well, if I work this amount of days out of the month, and I also do this and this and this, and I sell this, 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 and this, I will be able to make those payments. So I make my first payment out of essentially everything I have in my bank account. I join the community. I do the courses. I go hard at it. Like I went past midnight. Zach, I always sent you videos. It was like 4 a.m. on a school night, and I would just be like learning, doing whatever. But at the time, I didn't realize that like I wasn't doing the right things. Like I was just kind of doing a lot of action. There wasn't a lot of the right action. Like I wasn't making calls.
I saw you were
I was doing so many of the things, but do the inputs required to generate revenue. So that was a huge mistake, and I wish, but I go at it, and for a couple months I didn't see any success, and I couldn't afford the payments, so I essentially got kicked out. Not kicked out officially, but it was kind of like couldn't make the payments, so I didn't get access anymore. So I was like, fuck, but I'm going to come back. So I worked. I did pallet flipping. So those wooden pallets.
Yeah, I've seen that on TikTok.
Yeah. So I got introduced to the pallet business, and I was like, holy shit. And I asked my dad's friend. He runs like a distribution center for fruits and stuff, and or like a fruit distribution center, and I would visit every now and then. And then like as soon as I had the idea of like, okay, you can actually, like, there's companies that need pallets and there's companies that do not need pallets. Like they just receive them and they kind of just stay sitting there in their warehouse. And so what I did was his name is Miguel, who runs the distribution center, and I asked him like, what can we take these off your hands? Because there was like stacks and stacks and stacks and stacks of them in his warehouse. It was like probably hundreds and hundreds of stacks. And I asked him, how much would you like? Can I get these off your hands? He's like, yeah, totally. They're take up space in my warehouse. We barely use them. So I made a post on Craigslist, and I was like, I just literally just took a picture of the back part of the warehouse, and I was just like, pallets $5 each, or I just put pallets for sale, and I think I did like $3 to $5. And then someone hit me up. His name is Tony. Tony, he was from California. He was like, Andy, I need 20,000 pallets to fill my warehouse up. And I was like, okay, I can't give you 20,000 right now, but we can do weekly shipments or bi-weekly shipments. And he's like, okay, I'll send the truck and I'll pay $5 each, and I'll pay shipping costs for truck. I'll pay the truck.
Damn.
And it was $5 each. So
so hold on. So if you had 20,000 pallets, which you didn't, then that would have been $100,000.
Yeah, that would have been, if I did fulfill in that order, then yeah. For him, it was this banger deal because in California, it'd be like $10, $12 a piece.
Yeah.
So essentially, I was like, oh shit, I have a buyer now. I was technically a wholesaler broker. So I was kind of technically doing the wholesale game.
Yeah.
And I essentially told Miguel, hey, I have a truck coming. His fucking 16-year-old are coming. And then now I'm just thinking about it, it's so crazy. But Miguel's like, okay, awesome. Like, and then we scheduled the thing out. I just paid the guy's lunch, his warehouse guy's lunch, and then they loaded up in the truck. Done. It was actually a really easy business model. There was no license, there was no money I needed to do, other than pay the warehouse guys his lunch. I mean, because they had to load the truck.
Yeah.
But it was a service to Miguel, and it was a service to obviously Tony.
Yeah.
It was 500 for exactly, it's 516 pallets you can load into a 16-wheeler, which is around $2,500.
Okay, so my mind now, what this makes me think is like, obviously you've been very humble this entire time, but if people don't know, you run a multi-million-dollar software company.
Yeah.
How did you go from pallets flipping to a multi-million-dollar software company in a couple of years?
Yeah. So I do the pallet business. I make a couple bucks from there, and then I was like, okay, how does like the software come into play? It's like because that's very much different things. My grandpa has his house. He has it laying around. We end up wholesaling it, and it ends up being my first deal. And then now I'm able to have the funds to pay off the mentorship. I get back in the mentorship, and I'm like, I'm gonna reset. I'm gonna rebuild, and I'm gonna make sure I do it right this time. Because I kind of had a proof of concept that I can make money on my own now.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, now I have a lot more belief in myself, and I went in. I broke everything down, and I took action, and I closed my first deal in like 3-4 months. First day of summer, closed it, and then I had 90 days to of free time essentially because no school. You understand this, Andres.
Yeah.
So and Zach's also been like kind of seeing this whole thing from a third perspective, which is really funny.
I was in your library, bro.
Yeah.
I remember whenever you started, I was like right next to you.
Yeah.
And we were like, I wasn't even working on it. I don't even know what I was working on. I was just like there,
We're just doing
you.
stuff. Yeah.
We were probably doing drop shipping or something at the time, but
I think everyone has done drop shipping.
Everyone has done drop shipping, yeah. But he was like writing down notes in the library. I'm like, what is this kid on? Just getting like sheets of paper.
Yeah. I love just pen and paper.
Yeah.
But
I'm curious. So, because you did the pallet flipping,
yeah.
Do you feel like that, and was that just a way to make money, or do you feel like that gave you some skills that were necessary later on when it came to like wholesaling software?
I think I already had the people kind of the people speaking skills. I think that proved the concept, or that taught me the skill of like, I guess more not taught me the skill, but gave me the proof of concept that I can make money on my own without a boss.
That was huge because for me it was like, and I know a lot of people have this. It almost like doesn't feel real that you can be a 16-year-old kid selling a $10,000, $20,000, $30,000 product or service online, and then the wire just hits the bank and you're like, what the fuck just happened?
Right.
So I think that was also huge for me. Like when I first started, I was selling a $50 setup fee.
Yeah.
And I was doing it not because of the money, it's like it's $50, but because it gave me the belief of like you can actually charge people online.
Yeah. Internet money's actually real.
Yeah.
Like before it was this like thing like I saw on the YouTube. I was like, I think this is bullshit. They're just selling me some.
It looks like people are just like faking numbers.
Snake oil or some shit. Like this is not possible. But then I tried it. I was like, oh shit, it's fucking real. So coming back to real estate thing, I closed my first deal. I made like $4-5 grand. My first virtual deal was in Florida. Never stepped foot in the home and never talked to the sellers. It was like proof of concept for wholesale.
Yeah.
So that was really dope. And I think I made $8 grand actually on that. It was total assignment fee was like $20 grand. And I made 8. The wholesaler that brought me the deal made 12. Pretty dope. Awesome. Just turned, I think I was still 16 at the time. And I realized, and to get what I got from that deal, I had to do like 100 calls and I had to do all these activities to get that deal. And I was like, fuck, if I want to actually create a thriving business out of this, I couldn't because I had school. I was time constrained all the time. Yeah. It's like if you have to close 3 this quarter or something, you have to hit a certain quota of calls to take. You have a certain close percentage, and then you calculate it all. It's like, okay, I need to hit these. I was like, fuck, well, I got school in place. And then I was like, okay, well, I have to build a system to allow me to be able to essentially multiply myself and to allow me to hit those inputs without having to spend 9 to 5 on it. So I was thinking of the different marketing channels I could kind of attack. You have your ringless voicemails, your voicemail drops, your emails, your phone calling, and then you have texting. RVMs, essentially almost illegal, or just the conversions on that is trash, essentially. And then you have emails where you got to send out 10,000 emails to get even 100 responses. And then you have calling where obviously calling you need time to call. You can't just like I couldn't call if there was a chemistry teacher.
Of
Like
course.
I couldn't do that. But then I was like, okay, well, I can text. And then I was like, okay, well, if I can text one-on-one, I can also text one-on-two. Like, because I can text someone and wait for them to respond, and then boom, 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 boom. With calling, it's me confined to one person.
It's one-to-one.
Unless, of course, webinars, which comes in a later play. But
Yeah.
you have your SMS, which I was like, okay, well, I can have 100 conversations at one time with SMS. Not possible without automation, though. You can have maybe max 1 to 2 with like just your phone. But with automation, it allows you to essentially create hundreds of instances automatically at one time without you having to be there. And I was like, that is the highest form of leverage, essentially. So I was like, okay, SMS is cheap as fuck, and calling was not possible. I couldn't hire any callers because I was fucking broke still, or at least didn't have. It wasn't. I also didn't have time to train them, so unless I hired from an agency, which would have been a lot more expensive too. So like texting. So I built a system for myself, my own wholesale company, and it worked really, really well for me. It was essentially an automated SMS system that automatically reached out to realtors and followed up with them for leads. On average in this industry, you need to follow up with a realtor 8 to 13 times before they actually sprout a deal. So if you can imagine, when you have even 100, it's hard to keep track of everything, and it's hard to continuously follow up with them. Because let's say, Andreas, you talk to John, you want to follow up with John in 7 days, you have to set a task to follow up with John or whatever. And then, well, in order to hit quota, you got to talk to at least 100 Johns in 3 weeks, right? So I was like, fuck, it's not. So we had to build a system for it, and it worked really well for my company. In August, so the third month of summer, right? August is the third month of summer. August I do 28,000 in assignment fees. Next month I do 40,000, and I was like, that was the light bulb moment.
And I just want to point out, because what I love about that, because in my own journey, I got a lot of clients really, really quickly. And a lot of people were like, well, how are you doing that, etc. And the biggest thing for me, obviously I could do the hard work, but so many other people could also do the hard work. And so for me, what allowed me to get the edge up was the innovation aspect. Where my offer was nothing like I'd ever been seen before in the market. How I was getting clients, different than everybody else. Like everything was innovated and new. Which is what allowed me to get results different than everybody else, because I was doing the actions
just
different.
like cut into a blue ocean.
And so I love that, because rather than seeing a problem and being like, well, shit, I'm screwed, I gotta quit, I gotta change something.
You just go the other way.
Instead you just went the other way. You innovated your own solution to it, and then because of that you skyrocket. And that's how great products are built, is that the entrepreneur usually has the problem themselves, and they're like, you know what, I'm tired of this problem, fixing it, and then they realize, oh, well, actually a lot of other people also have the same problem. So that's how the greatest, probably 98% of all great products are built that way. Is the founder had an actual problem that they faced, and they innovated. They instead of searching for an alternative, they went head on to the problem and tried fixing it. So that's essentially what happened, and I started posting my wins in the mentorship community. And people were like raving about me because I was this young kid and doing all this shit. And one guy reached out, and his name is Will. Shout out to Will if you're watching this. And Will essentially is like, hey, you're doing really well. Like, how the hell are you doing this while in high school? And I just tell him, like, I don't know, I just do stuff really efficiently. Again, I had no idea you could sell anything, like, with software-wise. I was just like, I just do things really efficiently and just have really good processes in place. Will, I just get on a call with Will to show him what I'm doing and show him my kind of system and how we operate business. It was kind of just like a showcase. It wasn't like a product demo or like anything like that. It was just like, hey, this is how we run businesses. This is our processes. And halfway through the presentation, he stops me dead on, and he's like, how much do you want for this thing you're selling? And he thought I was selling the product
or selling something to him, and that caught me off guard because at that point I never sold any system or software or anything like that. So that kind of stumped me and then got me thinking like, okay, well, how much can I actually sell this? Well, I just made like fucking 70 grand, 80 grand off this. I thought $500. No recurring revenue, just $500. It's like,
Oh my god, that like.
now looking back, I was like, okay, nice. Because anything that essentially generates you anything more than like what Alex Shamosi, he sells like this $30,000 offer, and it's just like a $20K increase in revenue every year or something like that. And now thinking back, like 500 is a fucking crazy steal. I loaded up for him, and it was not the easiest thing to do, but it was a proof of concept of the idea that I could sell a software or sell a system and make money off of it.
Yeah.
It's because in the past I heard like, hey, sell the golden shovels or sell the shovels to the gold miners. I was a gold miner, and then I started seeing the shops, essentially. I started becoming a shop.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh shit. Then I make another post in the community, and I'm like, who wants to see the system I use to generate X amount of dollars, so and so. About, I think 130 people commented, and then 80 people signed into my Google form for like the webinar.
Damn, he was basically doing internet marketing.
Yeah, bro.
Yeah, I just made like a simple Google form and just funneled leads through there. And then I just emailed them on the day, and it was easy. I sent them the Zoom link. I didn't even own a Zoom account. I didn't even really know what Zoom was.
Did you have the free version?
It was actually a borrowed account from John Galan.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I was
So
like, John, can I?
You out of 40 minutes.
Yeah, it would have been really embarrassing. So I was like, okay, I got to use my friend's account. I didn't even have a paid Zoom account. So if you can, it's somewhere on YouTube. It's a private listed video, but you can see in the beginning of the call, it's like John starting up the call for me, and then he hands me off to host. It's funny.
Wasn't I in that call with you?
Huh? Yeah, you were in that call with me. Yeah, you were in the call.
I was starting to become.
This is actually a good point, Zach. How was it like seeing Andy grow over that time period? How did it? Because obviously you're an entrepreneur too. How did it affect you?
Well, first, I think you reached out to me, and you're like, Zach, you started an agency. Maybe you can help me out with this. You didn't know anything about it. We both didn't know anything about it. So I don't know. Like when you remember you called me on that.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know, because I was actually getting into it, so as well, not into like systems and stuff, but like, yeah, it's pretty crazy because the thing is for Manny, like I knew he was going somewhere. Like I already knew, like I was trusting the process, and I knew that like if I just stuck with it too, and he was open to learning, that I would have learned stuff too with the process. So I already knew with what he built and the amount he generated, things were gonna skyrocket. Like I had absolutely like zero doubts that nothing was not gonna work or things were gonna fail. My thought was just like on like, is he gonna go full time into this, or is he gonna manage that and the wholesaling operations itself? And I never kind of knew that, but yeah, like I mean, it was just kind of like we just kind of were like with each other as we go. Like I was always like getting updates and stuff like that. So I really got to see like Andy's journey. Like I think out of everyone, I saw your journey.
You've actually like documented everying.
Yeah, like I know everything A to Z.
Like you could write a biography.
Yeah, I really could, honestly.
Like
bro.
every time, like the first time, well, I'm about to get into it, but we had 80 people sign up and then 50 show up to the webinar. Yeah, about 50 people. Yeah, 50 people show up to the webinar. I do my presentation, do my thing, and then we close 50% close rate on a fucking webinar.
Yeah.
It's like, what the fuck?
And
the price was $749 one time and a $49 a month reoccurring. Better, not best, but better. We have reoccurring now, and then we also have a bigger upfront cash collected. I made $28,000 that day. And I sent this. I think I sent you a screenshot. Did I send you a screenshot of this trade? Yeah. So that was a crazy day. I remember it very vividly.
That was like your first Zoom call, probably.
Yeah, it was probably my first Zoom call. But yeah, it was $28,000 that day. And I was thinking, like, I kind of leaned back and was like, fuck, man, this used to take me like at least 30 days to do.
Yeah. Sales call with 50 people. It's crazy.
Yeah. I mean, I used to, what impressed me the most was the time it took to make the money. It wasn't the money itself. It was the time it took me to make the money. It was like, with real estate, I have to talk to a lead. That may take a fucking 3 to 6 months. And then contract the home and do all these things. That is 30 days alone, at least. And I just did this in fucking 2 hours, 1 hour. Yeah, sales call is like an hour and a half.
Yeah.
Sales call.
Yeah.
So that's when like things just absolutely started changing. My mind just completely shifted, and over the next 2 months, we had around 25 more people join. People started posting in the community about my system, like, dude, you gotta check out Andy's system. Like, it's so awesome. It's so amazing. It was word of mouth marketing, essentially. People were just hitting me up, and people wanted to just jump on it. And people were doing deals with it. It was actually generating them a lot of results. Back then, tax regulations were a lot less lenient.
Yeah, now you got ATP.
Yeah, now you got bullshit going on. So back then, it was a lot easier to get into the game, and you could get the system today and get leads within the next hour. Now it takes like couple weeks, because you have to get HP approved and stuff. But what happened was Jamil, which was the head of the community, which was my mentor at the time, he started hearing a bunch of buzz about it, and he just kind of puts it off aside and is like, whatever. And then like more time goes by, and then he gets a call from Marlon Savage, and she tells him, like, if you don't fly to Houston right now and go shake this kid's hand and do some sort of work with him, you are out of your mind. And that was like the nail in the coffin for, not in a bad way, but it was like, okay, now since you called me personally and was like, you have to jump on this, I'm going to go and make it happen. So Jamil's assistant at the time, his name is Emily, and Emily reaches out to me saying, hey, Jamil wants a meeting with you. And when someone that high up wants to have a meeting with you, one-on-one,
it's scary.
It's fucking scary.
It's fucking scary.
It's like if Jeremy Minor is like, hey, Andreas, I need a one-on-one call with you.
Yeah.
And you don't know if it's a good or bad thing.
Yeah.
Too.
No idea.
That's the worst part.
I had no idea if it was good or bad.
Especially because you're selling to his community. So
You're basically
fucking pissed.
I was actually soliciting, essentially. So get on a call with them. You know, I'm half shitting myself already, and he's like, tell me what you're selling are essentially the company that was managing the community. It's not Jamil managing the community, obviously. It's like this third party education company that's managing the community, and they were actually going to shut you down because obviously soliciting. But I see the value in you. So he's like, I'm the only person that can actually stop this from happening. So you need to tell me what you're doing, he's essentially saying if we're doing anything ethical, like we weren't just like scamming people out of shit, which I proved them very quickly I wasn't. And he's like, let's start a partnership. And at that moment, I was like, hell yeah. I didn't even think twice. I didn't do any market analyzation. I didn't do anything. Didn't think of a future. I just was like, if Jamil's in this deal and I'm working with him one-on-one, then I'm in. Which is valuable, obviously. I think any split or whatever, but we become partners. After a call, I start like yelling in my room, and I'm like, this is gonna change my life. We set a webinar date for February 20th. I had a mastermind speaker invite February 19th, so day before the webinar that we had planned. We became partners early January, so it was about a month later. I do a bunch of planning with his assistant. We get everything ready for launch. Mind you, I have zero idea how to run a SaaS company. I have zero idea what onboarding is. I have zero idea what support means. And I just thought if we had a pretty looking landing page, that would be really great for our customers. If we had a really great demo video, then that would really matter, right? Real estate person coming into being a software person, or just I had to morph into one. And I mean, now I would say I'm a little more versed into how to build successful software companies, but I'm still learning a lot. Back then I thought, that shit mattered, but really you could have literally a Google form, but if you have great customer service and you have a great onboarding, then it doesn't matter.
So let's change gears for a second. So you had to go from a wholesaler to a software company owner.
Yeah.
And there's obviously a lot of systems. You were telling me, because you guys did 1.6 million in a weekend. You were talking about all the emails and everything.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
So I guess, like, what was the hardest part for you making that kind of transition, learning everything?
It was like, I'm about to get to that. Let me actually continue on, and then I'm gonna get right into that. So I do the mastermind presentation, my first ever sales pitch, like officially kind of. We sell essentially everyone in the room for $997. Fucking nuts. Everyone in the room, I was like, hey, raise your hand if you're interested. Everyone raises their hand. And like, it was freaking amazing. And next day, fly back to Houston, and we do the webinar. 1,000 people show up. Our pricing is $997, what, $97 reoccurring. Sell 300 people. So the webinar is an hour and a half, 2 hours long. My part is about an hour, 45 minutes. I get on, I do my thing, show what I show, shoot my shit, and then I pull up my Stripe account. Like, imagine like the computer's right here, I do my thing, and I open my Stripe account with Face ID. I'm getting really specific. By literally, I open up my phone, open Stripe, it's loading, and I see today $153,000. I was like, it was still live. It was still live, and my face was showing on the presentation. So I had to like, and still like smile and shit. I had to like still like not be super ecstatic. But yeah, it was fucking nuts, man. And mind you, I was the only person on the team. There's no.
How old were you at that point?
I was 17.
It's fucking.
I was 17. Yeah, 17. And we were only halfway through. There was still our testimonials and stuff, and we still had to close it out. I think we closed at like 200K. Like, by the time the webinar ended, I don't even like worry about anything. There was like already customer support issues arising. People already saying I can't get access. Not even before the webinar closes. I'm like, I'm gonna handle a little bit, but I'm just gonna go outside right now and just take a big gulp of air.
Yeah.
Cause I just like, I need some fresh air. And like I was in this office building, and I was really high up there, and there was this like deck outside, and I open up, go outside, and you just see all of Houston. Yeah. And I just go and I just scream, I fucking made it. And that was a really like top of the world moment. And yeah, that moment was indescribable of like what the feelings I felt. But I just looked out of Houston. It's a huge sigh of relief. And
it's kind of weird. I've had the moment where like, and it's like you're like with the whole city, in front of the whole city.
Yeah.
And you just realize, I don't know if that's what it was like for you, but just realizing like how much opportunity, like how much is like actually out there for you. And just being able to see the whole city, the skyline, everything, and just be like, this is like what I can own. Like this is.
It was kind of like that. It was kind of like I can actually do shit in life now.
Yeah.
It's fucking nuts. And then I obviously go back in and we fix everything, and there's just like our support email was on Outlook, and it was just email after email after email. There was no tracking system. There was no label system. It was me. That was it. And there was emails like, hey, I didn't get my list. Hey, I didn't get login. Hey, I didn't, where do I go for this? It's like, it was nuts. And we closed out the day with like 300 people. Yeah, 300 people. And it's around like $298 processed. $298,000.
Yeah, $298.
A couple of zeros missing, but That was just crazy. And then I stayed in the office till probably like about 12. Next day, work. Next year, I had school.
Fuck, yeah.
So if you can imagine, I walked into school like fucking my balls dropped to the floor, and I was dragging them around.
How was that for you? Because I had that experience where like, it was a Sunday, and I had my first 10K day on a Sunday, and then I had Monday school. And walking in, like, I felt different. I looked at people different. It was just like a weird experience. How was that for you?
It felt like I got just removed from the conveyor belt. Like, that's what it felt like. It felt like all you motherfuckers here.
Not even close to my
You
level.
guys don't know what the fuck just happened.
Yeah, for me it was like that, and it almost like a problem at one point where it's like you have to keep your fucking ego down.
Yeah.
And yeah, so it was kind of like that for.
There's so many mini stories I can talk about, but like with it's all pretty crazy. But
I think it was really good though, because that's the first moment where I finally didn't care.
Yeah.
What people thought of me.
I totally stopped caring.
I got into business because I was like insecure.
Yeah.
Like I was just like fucking.
I think that's what most people get. I think we still have insecurities.
I think
today.
there was like there was a study about it. Like most people who get into business, it's because they have like some mental problem.
Yeah.
Like they're like insecure, like depressed or something.
Yeah.
That's what it was for me. I think that was like that click moment where I was like, well, I don't give a fuck. Like I cannot care less.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So it was like a big leap, but it was also like a problem where it was like I gotta keep it down.
Yeah, there was like a teacher would say like, oh, you need to raise your hand and go to the restroom. Like, what the fuck are you?
Yeah.
Or like, you got this done late. Or like, there was one time where my math teacher, it was like math models, which is like the lowest form of fucking math. It was like lower than algebra 1. It's like, algebra 1's pretty it's like you do that in middle school.
Yeah.
But I just completely stopped caring about school. My math teacher, I was in my math class, and I was on my computer. I was like finishing up some work, and we weren't supposed to have our computers out. And math teacher calls me. I was like, "What the hell are you doing? Like, you shouldn't be on your computer." And I'm like, "Hey, I just gotta get some work done on like for my business." And he's like, "You don't run any business. You will never amount to anything in your life. I'll always be 1,000 times smarter than you." Literally word for word, that's how he said it. And I was like, "Holy shit!"
Poor guy.
I was like, I feel sorry. I almost feel sorry for
Yeah,
you.
poor guy.
Still
bro.
working.
Yeah.
Like, who hurt you, man? Like, what the fuck? But I had to control myself and not do whatever. But that's what happened. But going back to the software thing, Pace Morby was at the mastermind I was speaking at, and he saw my whole presentation. He saw the interest in it. And February 19th, they pulled me aside. We go into a hallway, and Jamil and Pace are in front of me, the two most powerful people in real estate, and are like, I should have listened to them, but they were like, Jamil said, Pace will blow this thing up, like absolutely blow this thing up. And then Pace was like, the most important thing we have to focus on is customer support. He told me that. He literally told me that, and I didn't listen, as I thought I was right. And it bit me in the ass.
What did you say?
I was like, yes, we will focus on it. And
Like, what was going through your mind? Like, you
it's like, okay, got it. I thought we just needed like one VA and it would just be solved. But no, it's a lot more than just having an overseas person. You have to train them. You have to have proper systems in place and whatever. But a month later, we do another webinar with Pace. We do a webinar, our first webinar at Pace, called the AI Challenge, and it was on March 30th, March 31st, and April 1st. So 3-day event, 3-day challenge. They do a shit ton of marketing for it, and probably spend around 150,000 ad spend, 200,000, and we get a lot of Pace's organic community, and we get about 5,000 people to show up to the webinar. And I think 5,000 max for a Zoom, so it probably would have been more. But we do the webinar, and that's when we did 1.6 in a weekend. It was awesome.
Were you still in high
Yeah.
school at that point?
Yeah, still in high school.
Okay, I want to talk about one subject for a couple of minutes. I think it'll help a lot of people. But like, I guess in that business phase where you're going from like you're starting out, not a lot of success yet in summer, to like, okay, now the wholesale is working, now the software company is working, now it's like really working. Like, how did that affect the relationship with the people around you, like your past friends and even your family as well? How did you like navigate that from like going onto a pedestal almost?
I think it just like slowly started turning off friends. Probably when I started realizing like cause I play a lot of Call of Duty, like ton of Call of Duty. Like I would set up a tent outside my house, and I would, cause my mom would yell at me, so I would just set up a fucking blow up air bed in there, set up a fucking monitor, PS4 connected to it. I'd play all night, and I had these like jackass friends I was friends with, and that really dragged me down. So in the beginning, I just cut them off, and that's really important.
How did you have those conversations?
I didn't. They just kind of.
They just over time.
Yeah, it was over time. Just slowly stopped talking to them.
And how about your family? Because this is one thing a lot of people ask me about as well.
Mm-hmm.
They're like your family has this frame on who you are.
Yeah, and
then,
they try to like.
Yeah, and then all of a sudden you grow up, and what I tell people is like, you have to have that conversation because your parents want you to grow up.
Yeah.
They want you to be independent and like do stuff, but a lot of people, they're so used to being in that frame of like, oh, I'm dependent, like I have to ask my parents for this and this and that, versus like once they need to make that change, they like don't know how. So
Yeah.
How did you either have that conversation or make that change over time?
There was never really a formal conversation about it. It was kind of just
Like your parents.
I just didn't look at them the same.
Yeah.
But not my parents. My parents, I love my parents, but just like other family members that saw the success from the outside and was like, and saw me before, like when I was just a kid, cashier. They all thought I was like I was doing some scamming work, selling drugs or something, and you know, actually, like if I was looking outside of looking, I'd probably believe that I'm selling drugs or something. But they just kind of was like, ah, man, like you know, that's not. He's probably doing some scammy business or something, and like, you know, just trying to like, and I just ignore it. I don't.
Yeah.
I just laugh it off and like whatever.
Before you had the success, did you ever like get made fun of from people or anything?
Oh yeah, like it'd be like, oh, you know, you'll never.
How
Or
did
like
you handle the mental aspect of that?
it was. I think it was the main driver. That's why that sign's in place. Proves I'm wrong. That's my kind of saying. It was like because even my dad didn't believe me. My dad was like, with pallets too. He didn't really believe in the pallets. And then when I did my first deal, he was like, oh well. When I closed on my grandpa's house, you're like, oh, you sold it because it's your grandpa's house and you know it was easy. And I sold my first deal in Florida. And it's like, oh, it's just one. And then it kind of just kept.
Yeah. So you use that as like the motivation from
Yeah.
behind.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think that's another thing I see successful people, like especially starting out,
Yeah.
they use that, all that hate and that anger or frustration built up
Yeah.
as like the fuel from behind.
Yeah.
And then eventually you come into a place where like that kind of drops off.
Yeah.
Like you were mentioning, like you kind of get rid of that. And then, let me try this. And then you need to have like a forward pushing presence.
Yeah.
So what was that for you, or how did you find that forward push?
I guess now I saw like, okay, what how can I better serve my parents now, because they've done so much for me in my childhood. How can, you know, because we want to build like a townhouse and do all these nice things, and I want to be able to provide that for them. I want to be able to finance the whole thing and redo all the restaurants, have a Michelin star chef, redo all the menus, and I have like a whole plan for that, and want to do all these great. I think that's like the motivator. But positive things can only drive so much.
Okay. Yeah. But I think you said it right there as well, because I think the fact that you have that so specific of what you want to do
Yeah.
makes it helpful. Because a lot of people, they're like, oh, I want to make more money. I want to have financial freedom. It's like, okay, but like, what does that actually mean?
Right.
And it's like having like, oh, I want to change the menu. I want to get a Michelin star chef in here. I want to remodel the place. I want to get a townhouse for my parents. Having it so specific makes it more real.
Yeah.
So I think that's very good advice, combined with the using that negative energy as like the fuel to push you forward.
Yeah.
I think that's the same with me and the same with Zach, I imagine, and the same I've noticed with a lot of successful people of how to actually push through that.
Yeah.
That's a really good clip, by the way.
Yeah, I think for a long time, it would just be, I hate saying negative, but I don't want to put that label on it. I think pain is fine to be driven like that.
Yeah.
Like that's actually a really strong feel,
It
Yeah.
is.
a very strong feel.
It is.
It just depends
It's
on
kind of like whatever helps you, you know? Like everyone's a little
Yeah.
bit different. Like some people get fueled by like their family, some people get fueled by just themselves, like you know,
trauma, child, like
whatever it might be. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
totally cool. It's just I think it's just intentions. Like what do you like if you're motivated, but what are you trying to do? I think that's what matters more.
yeah.
For sure.
Like everyone has their own dark stuff and whatever.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah. And it's sometimes I like to think that like pain is important because it drives change, and that can be from your family, and that can be from just yourself as an insecurity. But like at the same time, it's like you don't always think about your pain and what is on your mind all the time when you're working. You think about your end goal, you think about where you want to
Yeah.
go. Like when you're working on your business every single day, you're not waking up every single day and thinking like, oh, I need to prove this person wrong, think this wrong. I just think I need to get to this goal. And then
It's
you
like
just wanna work
the
for
big
that.
pick me up when
Yeah.
you're at your low points. It's like when you're at your lowest point, you're not gonna think about a fucking Lamborghini.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, like business just did 10 grand. I'm not gonna get my Lamborghini. It's like I'm not gonna pay the fucking bills, and
Yeah.
I'm gonna end up back in that place where I was dreading.
Yeah.
The whole reason why I did this. So I think the positive motivates when you're up there, and then the negative stuff motivates you when you're a little lower.
Yeah. And one more thing I really want to touch on, which I think will also help people a lot, because you made that transition from a wholesaler, like all that kind of business model, into a SaaSpreneur like that in a couple of months, I imagine, right?
Yeah.
Or even a couple of weeks. Like, how does somebody like you learn? Like, how do you go about like going from this person to this person and learning that transition as quickly as possible? Like, how do you learn knowledge and information?
Well, if someone's listening, do not do what I did. I did not have a mentor, did not have a coach, did not take in any course and program, did not even watch YouTube videos. Like it's fucking free, and I didn't do it. I was the knucklehead that was just fail, learn, fail, learn.
Okay, interesting.
That was do not follow what I did. If I were to go back, I would have said follow Pace's advice, but also like really be strategic about doing things and not just like acting like I knew everything.
So then from somebody who now runs a multi-million-dollar software company, if you went back to that point,
Yeah.
you had to relearn that, how would you have gone about it? Like, I guess in as much detail as you can describe, like how would you learn it?
I would have probably I would have reached out to someone that had experience running SaaS.
Okay.
And I would ask them like, okay, hey, we have this coming up. We expect probably this. We have this timeline. What are the highest levers? What are the biggest levers I can pull so that can have the highest success outcome? And I would just take all the notes from there, and I'd book additional calls as needed. If it was $800, $1,000 an hour, I don't care, because my average customer value was $1,000. So if I just said one customer, that would have made up for that call. So even if I had 8 calls, 8 customers is for 300. If I save 8, that really makes back the money. Due to poor customer support, poor onboarding, and poor overall customer experience, that costed me much more than 8. Much more than 8.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what I would have done differently is consulted with someone like maybe someone like Dan Martell, someone in that space, and ask them, hey, how do I make sure, what are the things I can do so that I can make sure we have a successful launch?
Yeah.
Yeah. I remember when you were doing like manual onboarding or manual fill outs.
Yeah.
Like when this guy literally had, imagine you have 300 people join in and you have to manually make a sub account for each person.
Yeah, manually do a sub account for each person. And some emails also went to spam because the email domain was warmed up. So everything went to spam.
So get somebody who's already done it, ask them for help. And,
I think that's the fastest way to learn anything.
And how do you figure out like what to actually work on? Like what skill? This is another question I get very often. Like, what skills do I work on, and how did you know which skills you should work on? Especially when like maybe the problem that's in front of you isn't the problem, the long-term problem that will help you the most.
I think it depends on the personality of the person. I think some skills work better for other people. Like, you can mold yourself into a skill better than other people. Like you, maybe a little more extroverted, and you tend to, or
I'm actually
you
very introverted, by the
really
way. Yeah,
okay,
normally.
okay. So maybe I don't know, but I don't know.
So different types of people should focus on different types of skills because they'll be
Yeah, I
better
would say whatever you think you're best at, you should focus on that. And then like if it's not, then you should either delegate it out to someone that's an expert and
Yeah.
do that. If yeah. Yeah, I think that's
Okay.
what you should do.
Yeah. Cool.
Yeah.
I think that's good.
Yeah, so I think that's the story. Yeah. I think that's all, yeah.
Yeah.
That's everything.
Cool. I think we got
Yeah.
two really good clips.
Yeah.
If we're gonna keep talking, you just cut this out. But
Yeah.
I think we got two clips that
Yeah.
are very good. Probably three. We got one about the friends, like how to manage that, and then we got the how to learn, and then
Yeah.
I think there's probably another one somewhere in there.
Yeah.
Yeah, probably. There's a lot of clips in there.
Yeah.
Great.
That was good.
That was good.
That was good.
I was
Yeah.
happy with that. Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was good.
Cool. So now we can we can cut it and then record like 101s and then short.
Okay.
That's what I'm thinking.
Let's do it.
That work with y'all?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool.
Cool.
Sounds good.